it's Chiefs week, Grant, and I feel like I have noticed a change from the 49ers, at least from the players. Now, Kyle will speak later today. I'll be interested to hear what he says. But, like we have seen this bunch kind of, excuse away their losses and talk about how good they are. And we've covered that extensively. This week against the Chiefs, I've heard Nick Bosa say it. I've heard Trent Williams say it. I've heard Fred Warner say it. Hey, we've never beat these guys. We need to beat them to prove to ourselves that we can beat them. It's just a different sort of tone I've noticed this week.
Yeah, this does sort of feel like the 49ers Super Bowl in a sense. This is a make or break game for their season, because if they lose, you're starting to think like, well, who are they going to beat? And if they can't beat the Chiefs now, when are they ever going to beat the Chiefs? Because it's like the worst version of them. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, you're looking like, yeah, they want to win, but they don't have to win. They're 5-0. It's not a conference game. If they lose this game, it's like, oh, well, they're not going to lose confidence. But if the Niners lose this game, I think their confidence is very much at stake.
I do think it's the mental part of it goes into it. Like, you've never beaten them. They've blown you out. They've beaten you in close games. They've beaten you in overtime. Like, at some point, they say shooters like to see the ball go through the net. You'd like to be able to say at least one time, hey, we beat these guys.
Yeah. And if it's not now, when is it going to be? I do think it's kind of interesting. Like, they may win. Anything could happen on any given Sunday, but this is the same Niners team that lost to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are very not good. They're extremely not good. And the Niners lost. So now 2 weeks later, they're going to beat the Chiefs. Like, they're 0-2 against the Chiefs with Christian McCaffrey. How they're going to beat him without? Maybe they will. And if they do, we'll have to really reorient our entire thinking about this team, because right now it makes zero sense that the Niners could actually win this game.
That would be such a massive feather in their cap if they somehow, and there is a path to beat the Chiefs for sure. They have to play a complete game. They have to play a complementary game. They have not done that in any game this season. Even the wins, they haven't really done that, but it's definitely possible. What I'm fascinated by, Grant, I don't understand this. How are the 49ers favored in this game? What force on earth could compel you to favor the 49ers in this game? And I don't care that they're at home. Right now, they're 1-point favorites. They opened at 1.5-point favorites. I don't care if this game was on the moon, neutral field, Kansas City, San Francisco. There's no way the Niners should be favored.
All this tells me is that there's a lot of people, a lot of gamblers who like betting on the 49ers. No? Because if the Chiefs were favored, I'm imagining there would be an avalanche of bets on the Niners, and what the odds makers try to do is try to set it so that there's even amount on both sides so that they win either way. It's not that complicated. So they must feel that hell of people are voting on the Niners. And I just don't get it. But to me, I feel like the betting public is a little bit behind reality. Like, the Niners have been legit for 5 years. Everyone knows the Niners. There's so many stars in the team. I think people are just starting to realize that this isn't the same Niners that they're accustomed to.
And they've never, even at their best, they've never beaten the Chiefs. I was stunned by this. I'm not going to lie. I ran and made this bet. I took the Chiefs when it was 1.5. It doesn't make any sense to me. And look, I want the 49ers to win. I'll be rooting hard for the 49ers to win. But when it comes to my money, I don't play favorites. I bet the thing that I think is going to happen. So I was shocked by it. It's still, I thought it might be down to a pick 'em by now, but it's still 49ers, which is wild to me. But hey, you do what you want to do. If you want to take the Niners, feel free. Go ahead. Just use BetUS. If you do, you can receive 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit, up to $2,000. Just make sure you use our code YouTube150. Use that code. You'll get the deposit bonus. Take the Niners if you want. I think you're crazy, but hey, it's your money. You do what you want.
I love that. Anytime you get the Chiefs and points, I think you got to take that. I know you're a Niner fan, and it's not fun to think about it this way. If you bet against the Niners this weekend and the Chiefs win, you win. But if the Niners win, you're happy. It's the freaking Niners. So I think either way, you win.
That's known as the emotional hedge. That's what we call it. And you know what? I'd be never happier to lose my money than if the 49ers win. It would be an incredible victory, Grant, because there's a world where the NFC can really fall back to the 49ers this week. Seattle is playing Atlanta. Atlanta could very easily win that game. Obviously, that'd be good for the Niners in the division. Houston is playing Green Bay. Houston could beat the Packers. Now it's in Lambeau, but still, it's not out of the realm of possibility that CJ Stroud can get that done. One of Detroit and Minnesota is going to lose because they're playing each other. So one of those teams is going to have another loss. Baltimore is playing Tampa Bay. Baltimore looks like the best team in football right now. So that could be another NFC team losing.
I agree. Yeah.
And the Cardinals are playing the Chargers. It'd be nice to have the Chargers win that game. But there's a world where if the Niners can win, the rest of the NFC can fall back to them really, really nicely.
I completely agree. That being said, though, like I'd be surprised if the Niners went on their typical run and got that number 1 seed like they have in the past. To me, I'm looking like, even if they do well this year, I'm looking at a team that's going to be the 3 seed or the 4 seed, which is fine. You'll have your home game to start the playoffs, most likely. But still, like, that home game could be against a team that has a better record than the Niners right now, because 9 or 10 wins could win the NFC West. Mm-hmm. 9 or 10 wins could be last place in the NFC North. So it's going to be interesting to see who the Niners end up facing.
Yeah, I mean, now obviously things with Detroit are up in the air because of the horrible Aiden Hutchinson injury. I do expect them to go out and make a move for pass rusher, and we'll talk about that a little later. Just to stay on the Chiefs for a little bit here, Andy Reid off a bye is 21-4 in his career. That is the best in NFL history of any coach that has at least 10 games off a bye. He's 8-3 with the Chiefs off a bye. Now he's only 1-2 when both teams have a bye. But as long as his opponent plays the week before, even if it's a Thursday game like the Niners have, he's 20-2. So Andy Reid is awesome coming off a bye week, which is not great for the 49ers. The Chiefs have been worse in the red zone than the 49ers this year, but I expect Andy Reid to have some crazy-ass plays that he had 2 weeks to design and ready to go against the Niners D.
And what's rough about the Niners this year is, like, in the past, you'd look at them and sometimes be like, man, when they're healthy, it's hard to find a weakness or a weak link or someone that you can just exploit. But this year, it's like 59. Where is 59? And you give Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes 2 weeks to think of to brainstorm as many ways as possible to exploit 59. That's not great. And then there's also 22, who isn't phenomenal. And then there's the rookie Renardo Green. He's good, but he's a rookie and he hasn't played much. And then we don't know about Malik Mustafa. So there's a bunch of guys in the secondary where pretty much anyone besides Diamondre Lenoir is someone that I'm thinking Andy Reid's going to have some ways to exploit, even if Travarius Ward's out there. He did it to Travarius Ward a couple of years ago. He knows Travarius Ward. Damn, he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, Andy Reid is the best offensive mind of his generation, in my mind, hands down. I think he'll attack the 49ers horizontally, especially in the red zone. I think that's what they're going to do. They've got some speed. Xavier Worthy is freaking. I mean, Xavier Worthy on Isaac Adam terrifies me to my core.
One of the things I love, kind of going on a little tangent about why I love Andy Reid as an offensive coach. You can't describe his offensive system. I'm not sure he necessarily has one. He builds it according to the players he has that year. And what else do I love about him? He doesn't really have a successful tree of offensive coaches the way Sean McVay does or Kyle Shanahan does. Like, he's just really creative, and you can't really like be around him for 5 years and then go to another organization to be like, all right, I'm going to be Andy Reid. Like, just like people couldn't really replicate the Bill Belichick, whatever he brought to a team. Like, seems like teams can kind of replicate Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. To their credit, they're very good at, I don't know, building new coaches, but you can't get the next Andy Reid. He's one of a kind.
Andy Reid's coaching tree has a lot of defensive guys on it.
John Harbaugh's on it.
Yes, John Harbaugh, Sean McDermott, Leslie
Rivera.
It's Todd Bowles. Really weird. You almost never see that, I feel like.
Well, you forget his defensive coordinator in Philly was Jim Johnson, who's one of the all-time great defensive coordinators. It's almost his line. Those Philly teams, like, their defense was consistently better than their offense.
Oh, God. I mean, those offensive teams in Philly, it was like McNabb and Brian Westbrook and
Freddie Mitchell.
Todd Pinkston.
Yeah.
So, right. I love Andy Reid. I think he's fantastic. I think he was probably one of the top coaches that Patrick Mahomes could have gone to. But they have had their red zone issues this year. They have not been good in the red zone. It's been a combination of penalties, execution. Mahomes has not really seemed like he's been willing to rip it in there in tight spots, which is kind of crazy to say about Patrick Mahomes. But look, every year is different. And, like I said, I think Brock Purdy was playing better than Patrick Mahomes before the game 2 weeks ago. I absolutely thought that. And then he put up an absolute stinker, which I'm sure you took great pleasure in seeing.
I didn't, of course. I like Brock Purdy.
Mr. J Fizz, YouTube channel member, thank you for gifting 5 network memberships. We appreciate that. Always appreciate the support, Mr. J Fizz. All right. That's my Andy Reid spiel.